What's up, everybody? Welcome to the ReCoop. I'm your host, Cooper Daniels, and today is what? Wednesday? May? What is it? April? March? Today's May? May 29th. What's going on? Is it the 29th or the 28th? I don't fucking care. Would you guys stop talking to me? Jesus Christ. I swear to God. It's the 29th. I was right. It's not March. It's May. It's been a while. How are you guys doing? Everybody okay? The show started out really good. Feel like we're on a nice little pep in our step. Been scrolling some Twitter. Oh yeah, I got a guy breaking down all the. Oh yeah, do that. Make as much noise as possible out there, please. Yeah, man. Oh, of course. I've been scrolling Twitter, seeing a lot of angst about Algorand XGov, and I also see some confusion about that there's a difference, right? There's a difference between Algorand. So we're talking about Algorand right now. If you're somebody from somewhere else, right now we're talking about Algorand. There is the governance, the Algorand governance, the official governance that we all vote on, no matter if you're an expert governor or not, which has transitioned to actually being a forum where we choose which platforms to fund at all and normal governance. And then there's X governance, where XGov, where people have to essentially lock up their tokens, their governance, their algo tokens for a year in order to be that. And then it's a more community-led governance where community members put out proposals and the XGovs vote. So there's a difference. So when you say, oh man, MESSINA didn't get TDR last time, and I wish they would. That's not an XGov proposal. That is the traditional Algorand governance. Okay? Let's get that right. Let's all vote for MESSINA. Friend of the show, but they're doing cool things with token wars. I feel like there's some good to be had there. But yeah, I'm noticing on XGov a lot of stuff is getting passed. So what's going on? A lot of stuff that people are like, what, bro? We don't need that. We already have that. Or why do we need two of that? Like, what's going on? Ludo, what you doing, bro? Why you keep doing stuff, man? Nobody wants it. You haven't built any of it. Where's our concentrated liquidity? Why don't you just focus on the concentrated liquidity, AMM? I don't even know if Ludo is the main character this time around. But I don't even know who you guys are upset about, but all I know is that it's frustrating, because then you go on to Twitter and you're like, oh, we got to cancel governance. We got to cancel XGov. We got to cancel it all. It's like such a failure. Oh, man. We just need leaders, don't we? That's why we just need Rick Strong as the CEO. We can't figure this shit out on our own, man. Or at the very, like what, you just need somebody to tell you where the money should go, right? Because that worked out so well. I swear to God, like this idea that we just keep on throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So you're draining the tub and you're like, let's just throw the baby out the window. That's where that saying came from. But okay, so we're going to move to consensus, right? And you're going to incentivize consensus. That's a great idea. It's a good, solid idea. It needs to be done. But while there are still algos to be distributed, wouldn't it be nice if we had, or you're just saying, or is the position that a lot of you have is just like, no more governance, no more foundation giving away any of this shit for any project. You can earn algo by, participating in consensus. That's it. It's all you're allowed to do. Fuck the builders. Fuck everybody. It's consensus now. Get with the program. There's a new sheriff in town. Because before, we had Sean Lee and co. handing out lots of grants to a bunch of shitty projects, and none of it really worked out. Literally. Folks Finance. From back then, what in God's name is still around? Rand Gallery, they did that on their own. Kraken did that on his own, I think. I don't know who he did it with. I think he did it by himself. Folks Finance. And that's it. Tiny Man, Pair Wallet, and just a long list of grifters and victims. Just a bunch of victims. Oh, the Algorand Foundation was so mean to me. Well, you didn't build anything, bro. So, right? So that's what we did with that. Okay. And then it's like, oh, we're going to do governance. And everyone was like, well, we're not voting on anything real, man. Like, this isn't real. Like, oh, should we put 5,000 algo or 5,700 algo towards freaking a new turkey for Stacy's Thanksgiving dinner? And then we're like, well, that's not good enough. So they're like, okay, we will create an expert governor portal led by the Audrey. And we all shall distribute the algos from the soul of the community. The soul of the community shall speak. The proper projects will be awarded. And then we got a Prague meetup. And a bunch of duplicate ass bullshit, dog. And a bunch of shit nobody ever gonna build, and everyone's gonna forget about it, and we're gonna move on. The soul of the community seems like the soul of the community is funding a bunch of garbage too. Maybe Sean Lee was onto something. Maybe he was tapped into the soul. I don't even know. Maybe the Prague meetup is a great idea. But then it's like, okay, no. Now we're going to put all our eggs in the consensus basket. Yeah, buddy. And then they have to redo everything. Not everything, but they have so much work to do, so much tech work. Are we opening ourselves up to fucking this up? This isn't what Silvio initially wanted. This isn't. I hear a lot more from the foundation side about that than I do from the tech side. Obviously, they're working in collaboration, and these are bright minds, but it's just like, it is a little concerning, right? Okay. So you guys are changing the way the chain basically works. Should be fine. But it's like, now kill XGov. Kill all governance. I don't know. You guys have any thoughts on this? Because I don't have any answers. All I know is I can look back at the history of Algorand and just see a bunch of, it's just like, like a fucking high husband. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, baby, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start selling shoes online. And then it's like a year later, okay, the shoe business isn't working all that great. I'm going to start selling horses in Wisconsin. Why not Wyoming? Because Wisconsin's got a better market. And then, so every year we're just going to keep on changing until we find something. Do you guys have any thoughts? Are we there? Is it time? Is it our time to shine here? High fives. I still want governance for sure, says Chase. Okay. GORA will be $50. A Cosmic Team says, woo, baby. Well, I hope so. Native, what's going on, man? Thanks for showing up. Good morning to Jack's Hole. High fives to Captain Stryker. High fives back, bro. I still want governance for sure, says Chase. TDR is important. Hope that stays. It may need some reformation, but I think on-chain governance in some form needs to happen. And I agree with you, Chase. That's what I think too. I think that. But are we going to be able to do it? Does anybody actually care about this governance? Because the only way for the governance to work is the people implementing it, actually putting resources and bright minds behind it. And they really lead a charge for XGov. And then they really figure out how people are gaming this thing, because it seems to be, from the little murmurings that I hear out there, is that people are gaming the voting by voting out through their own things. All right. So we only got about 8 more minutes before we bring in Abdul and we talk GORA and GORAFI and all of the exciting things that they're doing cross-chain. So why don't we just go check the news real quick before we slide into that? And have a bit. You guys are not really chiming in on the governance topic, so I guess that's Not something you want to talk to me about. Maybe you guys can just talk to yourself about it. You guys figure it out. Like, I don't care. I don't care, bro. You do what you want. Who cares? Why do you guys care so much? I'm so tired of your caring. Just kidding. All right, let's go to CNBC. Let's see what's going on over there. See what the markets are doing. Is GameStop at $700 yet? I hope so. I hope they are. I hope GameStop's at $700. All right. So here we go. We're here. Ba-do-do-do-do. Here we go. CNBC. I know what's best for Algorand. Dow is down. What did you guys do? It's down 1%, almost 330 points. The S&P 500 is down 0.5%, and the NASDAQ is down 0.25%. Probably the NASDAQ is overperforming because NVIDIA is fucking making my wife look like a genius. American shares tumble 15% after sales strategy backfires. Abercrombie and Fitch shares surge. God, people still go to Abercrombie and Fitch? All right. Stellantis CEO says a $25,000 Jeep EV is coming to the U.S. very soon. There you go, Jeep. Make it cheap. I know what's best for Algorand. I drank 19 IPAs last night and I figured it out. That's what I should do now. All right, let's go to Bloomberg. I think I'm actually going to subscribe again to Bloomberg so I can click on these articles. It's going to be a fancy day for the ReCoop. Then will you guys come back? Goldman, or just me yelling at you? Is that not working? Is it not working for me to yell at you guys? God, you're so weak. Just kidding. All right, 40 minutes for Starbucks coffee? No, nobody wants to wait that. There was no money left. Trump jury begins deliberations in historic hush money case. All right. We'll see what happens there. I'm sure a lot of you are going to be very angsty. Either way that goes. Some of you are going to be angsty. You're going to be like, oh, that's my man. And some of you be like, he's the devil. And the people that are like, that's my man. And the people are saying, he's the devil. They're going to be like, you're a pedophile. And then they're going to be like, you're a rapist. That's the discourse in the United States. If you disagree with me, you're either a pedophile or a rapist. That's it. Great. Get a lot done from that position. Going well, folks. It's all going well. All right. Why am I just slowly scrolling Bloomberg when I have about 4 minutes left before we have a much better chat than we're having right now? Okay, so Bitcoin is down a bit. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so any of this, trader buys 2 million Dogecoin call options as meme coin market heats up. Are you ready? Gemini announces full recovery of earn users. I mean, you guys are obviously up on what is going on with Bitcoin. The what the hell am I talking about? The Mt. Gox wallet woke up, and I think it was 142,000 Bitcoin got moved. So that's going to be distributed. We're going to see probably a major crash in Bitcoin Cash, and we'll see a bit of a crash in Bitcoin, but probably much less than Bitcoin Cash. News of the day, PayPal makes retail stablecoin play with PYUSD on Solana. The asset comes with token extensions that give it compliance superpowers. Ooh, nothing like compliance superpowers. New York Stock Exchange plans Bitcoin options, bringing another TradFi giant into crypto. BlackRock takes the crown for the largest spot Bitcoin ETF from Grayscale. Man, BlackRock. What a bunch of... anyways. Okay, the block. We're not going to look at it. Let's look at CoinMarketCap real quick, and then we're going to dive in with Abdul. You guys excited for me to talk to Abdul? I'm excited to get back to conversations, folks. It's been a while. I don't do a lot of conversation. We had Kevin on the show impromptu last week. All right, so volume is low-ish. Ethereum volume has come back down to earth. We're slightly in the green in the last hour, ticking red in the last 24 hours. 7 days, we're down about 4% on Bitcoin. Solana is doing well. XRP just doesn't want to move. I shouldn't even mention them anymore. 7 days, we got Avalanche down about 9%, but it's bouncing back, I guess, a touch. Did it do Polkadot down? It's probably a good idea to short this shit, but who knows? Does anybody care about Bitcoin Cash? It's crazy. It's crazy how some of this stuff, like nobody cares about Ethereum Classic, right? Do any of you care about this? It's $30. It's number 25, $4.5 billion market cap, and nobody cares. All right, let's see. Algo, stacks on stacks on stacks is sub $2. Sui's just hanging out at $1, trying to bore you before it crashes. Just kidding. Bump, bump, ba-dum, bump. All right, Algorand trying to get back into the top 60. It is actually green across the board. It's been a good week for Algorand. 19.25, and the volume is anemic. DWF, why didn't you ride the commercial wave? They should have pumped and dumped us. Maybe it was too obvious. We miss your pump and dump, DWF. All right. Vestige, and then we're headed over to Abdul. Ooh, the hooker. Somebody bought some hooker coin. Up 20% last 24 hours. Look at that candle. Somebody's like, hey, man, are you going to make me own all this shit? Is that what you guys are going to do? Making me own the whole thing? I'll own the whole thing. That's what that person's saying. Better be a virtuous human, because it is showing to be okay. So we got GORA pushing down a bit in the last 24 hours. Coop coin pushing up though, nice volume. GORA's got some good volume too. Actually, I think GORA has the highest volume, but yeah, we're looking at some red and ASAs outside of the venerable Coop coin and whatever this Polka Gold thing is. Pepe down, Algo 200 down, sub a penny. Barb coin, just doing barb things. All right, that's it. We did it, guys. Are you guys still here? There you are. Damn, your wife was buying the video while you were buying Algo. RIP. No. I was buying Bitcoin. I'm doing okay. I've been trading. Yeah, she's all good. She likes to point out that she was buying Nvidia and I was buying Bitcoin. But I'm like, well, I mean, I was buying Bitcoin at $16,000, $17,000, honey. So yeah, but it's not real. Okay. It's not real. All right. Let's see real quick. Let's see high fives. I still want governors for sure. Where's the best way to make changes to get involved? Hey, shut up, governor's hat. I'm just thinking this is last gov. Discussions on how XGov is being reformed are ongoing, mostly in Discord, but also in the forum. A new system with new voting mechanics and procedures is being implemented. Okay, there we go. Finally, somebody came in with some actual information. And then we got more Solana dominance. Are you ready, Abdul? Are you ready to go, man? I think we're ready to go. Let's do it. All right, let's have Abdul hop in. Let's have a chat with our friend, the awesome Abdul Osman. What's going on, Abdul? How you doing, man? Oh.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can. There we go.
How's it going? Cool. Always such a pleasure to be in your show, and one of my favorite hosts by far in the entire crypto space.
Oh man, thank you so much. I haven't done it in a few days, and some days I wake up a little more angsty than others, but
yeah.
You must. I sometimes I was feeling bad for you as I was doing it, so I was like, this Abdul's just sitting here watch me yell at my screen, and he's like,
I love it. It's not only funny, but I learned new things. Like, for example, Abercrombie and Fitch still exists.
I know, right?
Yeah, and they their stock outperformed Nvidia and Bitcoin. So
yeah, so my niece that bought Abercrombie and Fitch stock is outperforming me and my wife, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So okay, well, look, I know that you've had some cool announcements recently. I know that there is now a ERC20 version of GORA. GORAFI mainnet just launched with some, I mean, it doesn't have all of the bells and whistles yet, but you're able to stake your ERC20 tokens now on GORAFI.
Yeah.
Why don't you just give everybody, the troop, everybody that's watching right now, an update on where GORA is right now on its mission?
Yeah, so obviously we started off on Algorand.
Yeah.
The almost all of our sort of technology is still on Algorand. It's probably going to be where majority of the tech lives,
Mm-hmm.
and even staking on other chains on the backside. It's still sort of doing this bridging thing between Algorand and Ethereum, and so nice mug. Um, so that was our bread and butter, and our whole team is really Algorand native. And so, how do we expand and how do we grow into new markets like EVM? And the merger with Rosifi happened to be the perfect thing, where they're a credit risk oracle, heavily with DeFi, heavily in DeFi. All their clients are DeFi. And that was just the easiest way for us to get instant exposure into that whole ecosystem without having to like recruit or do all this expensive custom development. And so, just through that merger alone, we've now sort of increased our presence and our footprint in the blockchain space onto Ethereum.
Right.
And there's some very exciting next steps coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Well, look, so actually go back to the merger that you're talking about. So there was a merger a couple of months ago, and
I think it's been a couple months. Yeah.
yeah, it's been a couple months. It probably feels like yesterday, but
Yeah.
but so explain, maybe talk a little bit. Maybe people aren't following every step along the way. So talk about that merger a bit. Who were they? How do you say? Is it
Rosie.
Rosify, right?
Rosie.
Yeah. And so, yeah, talk about why that merger happened and what the ramifications are of that and what they were even doing.
Yeah. So they're a credit risk oracle. So they allow DeFi applications to give sort of under collateralized loans
Yeah.
by kind of collecting your credit history,
Right.
and then giving that data onto and our partnership with them actually goes way back to September of last year, where they were providing Algorand ecosystem with Ethereum credit scores, right? So if you're like a an Algo 5, they were still around, or folks, you could give under collateralized or higher rewards to targeted users with high credit scores, right? Things like that.
Oh, cool.
So through that close collaboration, we realized like these guys have quite a nice foothold and footprint there. We're already supplying their data through our Oracle.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we just merge downstream, sort of like a vertical? Because they're a data provider. They create this data, they aggregate it, and we provide that data to the DeFi apps that use it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of the best. Now the data is produced by us. The Oracle is distributed by not by us, but like by these systems that we've built. So it's just a great way to integrate both those sides, and also they want exposure to Algorand, we want exposure to Ethereum, and this just made that happen.
Nice. And so the idea is with these on-chain credit scores, you're not inputting Equifax into Rosify, right? Is it just your on-chain activity? Or are you actually supplying your real-world credit score as well?
So I'll get back to the Equifax in a second here. But so this is on chain. So your wallet history
Yeah.
from as far back as it goes,
Right.
the protocols you interacted with, how much you borrow, how much you lend, if
Mm-hmm.
you've ever been liquidated, whether
Mm-hmm.
you're like a degen or whatever.
Yeah.
So that is a couple of things. If you have a long history of taking loans and paying them back,
Mm-hmm.
you have a higher credit score. If you
Right.
have like you're a super degen, maybe that's who DeFi protocols want to target. Like when we did our incentivized testnet, we just had a bunch of people who just farm essentially. They'll come to
Yeah.
Algorand just to do these. But now you can say, hey, you have to have a good credit score because I know you're the person I want to target, for example. So that's one use case. Another
Right.
use case is instead of like 150x or 1.5x collateral, you can do 1x or even 0.9 or even 0.8. So I think the future may be under collateralized lending. We're
Mhm.
not quite there yet,
Yeah.
but I think under collateralized lending is probably the next big step in DeFi.
Because especially if you are somebody that has built an incredible credit history for a certain wallet, right? So I start to see why this might work, because you have 3 years of awesome paying back loans on this wallet. And so you
Mhm.
built this credit history. So if you take an under collateralized loan and you maybe you make $700 by defaulting on it or something like that, but then you erase all of this great track record you have on that wallet. Is that kind of the
Yeah,
idea? Yeah.
yeah, essentially, and in a way, DeFi is getting super competitive, right? How do you attract these sort of really high value clients or whatever to your protocol to really jumpstart it? One of those ways is providing under collateral, which nobody's doing, and so
Yeah.
less risky to give it to people who you know have a history,
Yeah.
and who will probably generally be a bit more honest. Who
Yeah.
knows though, right?
Right.
but yeah, it's no different. I think then you have to have then once that kicks off, then you're going to start to see these insurance. Like I think Nimbler was one that was doing decentralized insurance where you
Yeah.
insure against defaulting debts, a portion of that, right?
Mhm.
Then it just opens up a whole new world of DeFi applications once you really kick off things.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And then you also touched on a point where, airdrop farmers and being able to only airdrop to, high score wallets or high,
Yeah,
stuff like that. So it's not just, you don't have a score if it's a brand new wallet and you're farming. So then you can eliminate scores of below a certain threshold. That seems
yeah,
like actually solving a real
that's
crypto use case there.
that's a big thing that we deal with quite often, right? Where you do a campaign and these people who've never heard of even maybe Algorand are coming into our
Yeah.
Discord complaining about, hey, this reward's not large enough,
Yeah.
because you can't. But now you can be like, okay, much higher rewards for a
Right.
smaller group of users who you
Yeah.
know are the type that you want in your community.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, that's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
So,
and
go ahead.
it
Go ahead.
would be cool to do it for like Algorand too. If you have a history of good Algorand history, maybe you're eligible for some coop drops or future meme coins.
That's
Who
it.
knows?
You're
Yeah.
right. I mean, I've never been liquidated. Have you ever been liquidated, Abdul?
I've been so busy with development and writing this project. I haven't even had time to get liquidated or even.
You're not even, you're like, I'm not, dude. You're like,
I'm
I
still.
don't have enough capacity for that right now.
Yeah. I'm just boring and solid.
Yeah. Well, okay. So look, so you got GORA Network. You start off, you're an Oracle. I always like to, because I feel like and I don't think it should, but I feel like the Oracle idea just people miss it for some reason. They're just like, they don't, it's like a weird thing. I mean, and it essentially is just, uh, an Oracle basically is just making sure outside data is accurate and providing that to smart contracts so the smart contracts can execute properly, right? That is what an Oracle does. Yeah.
That's essentially it.
Yeah.
And to go back to your your question about like Equifax specifically,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
I think that's something we're working hard towards. Like we got trials with them, and if
Oh,
you can now, yeah, so if you can now actually, let's say, Cooper, right now your credit history is owned by Equifax,
right.
right? But what if you were able to own that credit history and through Oracle's can verify like with through Equifax and through you by signatures that this is your credit score, and now you can do something where it's like a zero knowledge proof to a protocol saying, hey, this is my credit score. I won't tell you what it is, but it's better than like 800. Now you
Right.
can get under collateralized or no collateral loans, and if you
Mhm.
default in it, it gets reported back to your actual credit report, right? So that's the next level of the. Now you can do things like cross border. Like I'm Canadian, you're American. I can't borrow from you guys and vice versa. But
Right.
with crypto and decentralization, that's the goal. Is finance is now cross border, and
Mm.
so really, and you see with Chainlink, they're really doing big partnerships with like Swift and helping move money across the world. So I think really Oracle infrastructure is one of the catalysts to opening up a new space, especially when you look at how they connect different ecosystems, like different blockchains, for example.
Right. Okay. So then, so you have that now. What maybe let's just shift gears here. You mentioned Chainlink. I think it's always interesting to understand when you're thinking about Chainlink and then you're thinking about a couple of other of the larger oracles. There isn't a lot. It doesn't seem like there is a ton of competition in this space, and it seems like Chainlink just sits there like we are the one. But here's Gora, and you guys continue to get more and more momentum. You have partnerships, there's mergers. You had another partnership with like an AI DeFi protocol recently. Janus, is that what it's
Uh,
called?
Janus, yeah,
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 Janus.
Janus, yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
so we'll talk about that. But so there's a lot of growth happening. Now, what is the value proposition for Gora compared to something like Chainlink? Or do you just think it's separate and there's enough for everybody? I mean, they're probably both, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So if you look at how many apps are using an Oracle, like the percentage of apps that are using an Oracle,
Mhm.
how many of them use Chainlink? It's really high. It's like 90%. So it seems really daunting at first. But
Yeah.
when you look at how many projects need an Oracle but are not using an Oracle and they're using their own sort of inbuilt homegrown thing, I think only like almost 80% are using their own solution because
Yeah.
nothing meets their demand. You have some of the like chain like way too expensive, not accessible for most projects,
Mhm.
right? Then you have um, maybe a handful, five, six actual oracles compared to like over 100 layer ones, thousands of DeFi apps, but only like a handful of oracles. And oracles are so hard to build, and not only just hard to build for one use case, but now you try to generalize it across different use cases. It's even harder to do. So the complexity of building an oracle, the various needs of all the different people who use an oracle, I think that just goes to show that there's just so much room. Like the pie is huge, and it hasn't really been, uh, you know, sliced up yet.
Yeah.
Uh, so with Chainlink, they're massive. Anyone who's following them knows they're strictly pretty much going after the big TradFi, Swift, cross chain thing. That's their play. They're going all in that, it seems.
Yeah.
Uh, and so there's a whole new a whole new world that's kind of waiting to use something new like Gora.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that Chainlink is up there dealing with things like Swift, and then there is the other 10% that are using their own, which is centralized
So
and
like
oh
80% of people are using their own
yeah.
Oracle.
So most
So
people are using. You're right. So
majority
yeah,
majority
and then
because they just can't find something that works for them.
even in Algorand, right? Like Folks Finance, the largest app on Algorand, don't they use their own Oracle, or are they?
They built
Yeah.
their own price feed Oracle.
Right.
Case in point, yeah.
How come they haven't partnered up with Gora?
They we came too late, I think.
All right.
So they
Uh,
released their folks feed Oracle before we even sort of went to mainnet.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
So they were like, look, we need to fix this, and so they fixed it, and so they're good. So you're not mad at them for not using Gora.
No, we love folks. Ben and the team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Ben
I
and
know they waited for us for a while, so kudos to them for waiting.
what's that?
They waited for us for a while, that's for
Oh,
sure.
okay. So
But
okay, so
that's an
yeah,
example of apps building their own oracles because nothing is there for them, and that's just not on Algorand. That's
yeah.
also happening on Ethereum and various other layer ones and layer twos.
Yeah. So now, what does it mean for Gora now that you have the ERC20 Gora token? You have this merger. You like, what does it mean for Gora cross chain now? Now that this activity is taken, are you starting to find apps that are like, okay, we need an Oracle, like, and now you're providing that? Is that already like? Is there? Have you already announced that and I've missed it? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, inbound has grown a lot. Now people reaching out to us saying, "Hey, I
Mhm.
need this or I need that." A lot more customers. A big announcement coming in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Top 100 partnership
Wow.
project. Only on Coop you're going to hear this. And so yeah, we're super excited now. Like the partnerships we're getting are getting bigger and bigger. Um, People don't necessarily want to work with a brand new Oracle. Having been in mainnet for over a year now, having
Right.
shown what we can do, not only has it made those conversations easier, but now being accessible, like on EVM networks, has really just pushed us forward. And so, we're starting to grow. Our team's been growing, and so yeah, we're fairly excited with this kind of this new this upcoming year.
Yeah. I mean, I noticed as I was scrolling through Gorify, which is a very clean website, by the way, it looks great. I noticed that pretty soon you're going to be able to stake your Gora to individual validators, right? Is that on?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So that's how it works on Algorand.
yeah,
The goal for us is sort of our staking mechanism in our network lives on Algorand. That's where all the consensus happens.
right.
The goal is when you stake on Ethereum, those stakes are mirrored onto Algorand. Like
Gotcha.
we have the bridging technology, so we can read from Ethereum and vice versa. And so you can actually stake, and it's all one big pool on Algorand. And now you can actually stake the individual validators, and those validators have been huge. Like they've all got their own big communities.
Yeah,
Shout out to some of the Algorand native ones. There's a KuCoin node
I saw that. Yeah,
that's on there, and so now you're able to stake to these validators from other networks like Ethereum and whatever network we expand to next.
nice. And do you have plans for other networks soon?
Yeah, that's the big announcement coming soon.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Cool. And then, by the way, just not for nothing, the bridge technology you use, is that Messina?
So right now we use MESSINA. Yeah, it
Cool.
was like wanted to get something right away.
Right.
Using our own sort of bridge takes time, audits, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
MESSINA is fantastic technology. It's
Yeah.
already live. We're very close. You said you had Kevin on last week.
Yeah.
We're very close with those guys. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Cool.
was the moment we had an opportunity to work with them, we took it.
Sweet, man. Sweet. So are you so okay, so yeah, I mean, obviously with Gorify, why don't we talk about some of the other things that Gorify is going to be able to you're going to be able to do on Gorify. I think you're going to be able to cross-chain swaps and things like that. So I think that's why you were like, right now we did use Messina, but soon you're going to there's going to be a native Gora like bridging thing, or what's going on there?
Yeah. So how bridges work essentially is you something happens on Ethereum, something happens on Algorand. How do you know what happened between them, right? And so Oracle is the same thing as a bridge. So right now on Algorand, we can read whatever happens from Ethereum. Thanks to our node network on Algorand. Now that we're on Ethereum, we can read whatever happens from Algorand. So before it was one directional, and now you know what happens on both chains. So that's essentially a bridge. But because we have way more nodes and we're way more decentralized and anyone can participate, it's we believe it's more decentralized. And now you can use our network to do something like, swap one algo for one ETH, where now we have our own token. So we would take it, turn it into Gora, release Gora on the other side, convert it for ETH, and now you
Right.
have an algo for ETH, right? So
Yeah.
really, really cool way. And the whole idea, and then of course there's the launchpad, which we're just generating as much business for as possible, focus mostly on Algorand launches, especially during our initial. And one thing we saw when we were launching, majority of our token kind of people who bought it came from outside of Algorand. People who were running nodes, they came from
Mhm.
outside Algorand, regardless of whatever narrative was going on with Algorand at that time. Like you can imagine, spring 2023 was sort of a dark time in the whole crypto space, right?
Yeah.
But people were super excited about new token launches, new tech, running nodes, and we saw there was just a lot of excitement to get into new projects, regardless of chain.
Yeah.
So I think the lack of a launch pad on Algorand right now is sort of hurting. We need more people coming to the network. We need more growth, and so we're hoping to have some really cool big launches, get some token excitement going, because essentially, people who buy tokens, they're sort of like VCs, aren't they?
Mm.
They want to get in early on projects, no matter where it is, if they believe in it.
Yeah.
So if the big VCs are not here, maybe we get a lot of small VCs.
Yeah. Well, so are you saying that Gorify is going to be building the Algorand Pumped Up Fund? Is that what you're doing?
I hope we want to be a part of it. I think the community essentially will determine that.
Yeah, will determine how degenerate it actually is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It feels like Algorand, probably a launch pad on Algorand. It'll be like, a tokenization I don't know. It'll be like real things that maybe are launching. Not, it won't all be RWA, red wine, hooker blow, gold oil.
Yeah. It's funny because I get a lot of new people are still joining Algorand, and they're like through Gora, and they're just like, why aren't people doing meme coins on Algorand? Like
I know.
this is such a cool chain. It's so fast.
I
why
know.
aren't the memes frenzy happening here? They just
I
don't
know.
get it, right? So
I
even
don't
when
get it.
people discover Algorand, they're like, why aren't you doing meme coins? So I don't know. Maybe you can get
I
away with
know
it.
it. Well, it's because we need, we obviously we need liquidity, but yeah, it does. Like, even though we bring Pepe, we bring Bobo. I mean, there is an effort, certainly from the community side of things, to make
Yeah.
this happen. But it's just that we are a bunch of dedicated dudes that, like, in the end, want to make money too. So then they end up. So the guys here trying to build the meme culture end up on Pump.Fun because they're like, well, fuck it, man. The money, they're making money over there. I'm not going to just be a GIF just staring out the window forever. Like, but I guess my point, and then when you were mentioning the swap to Gora swap, so obviously on these chains you're going to need some deep liquidity to have good swaps, so it's advantageous for people to use the cross chain swapping. So how is it on the, I know that it's just brand new, so are you seeing trading activity? Are people adding liquidity to the Gora pool on Ethereum? And like, are you noticing some stuff happening there?
Yeah, I mean, when we first launched on Ethereum, like that first day, it was like 700K worth of volume. We've never seen anything like it.
That's amazing.
The liquidity, we want to keep growing the liquidity on there. I think with Algorand, we started off with really small, like 30K in liquidity, and grew all the
Yeah.
way up to like 300K or 400K.
Yeah.
So we know it's not something that's going to happen overnight,
Yeah.
but our volumes have been growing steadily, and so I think more for us is we try to look less like at the token performance and more about how many people are staking, and every month we've had more people staking Gora than the previous month, right? And at the end of the day, we are a utility token.
Yeah.
The Gora token is used to stake and help the security of the system, that's where people get the rewards from. So I think we hit almost over 40K staked on Ethereum, 40K
Hmm.
Gora staked on Ethereum, which I
Pretty
think,
good.
yeah, it's pretty good. And that's sort of what we look at most is, hey, are people using the network? When people have
Right.
a Gora token, what do they do with it? Like,
Yeah.
are they actually staking it? And we find majority of the time people actually go to Gora.io or Gora.fi, and they end up staking. So for us, I think that's the biggest measure of success.
Of success is people actually participating in the network. Well, that's a good answer.
Yeah.
And so with Chainlink, there has been, like, I've heard over the years it kind of goes away, but there's like centralization complaints. There's a multi-sig, and I think that some people accuse them, like all 7 of the multi-sig is just Sergey or whatever his name is wearing a different hat, but with a fake mustache on or something. That's the one. But I don't know if that's true or not. But I guess when it comes to decentralization, in an oracle, it seems like the perfect marriage. You really want it to be as fully decentralized as possible because you want as robust data as possible. And if there's a ton of different nodes validating it, you're going to get that. So how is the decentralization? I know it's a process and it's been over time. Like, on your journey towards being a fully decentralized oracle, where do you feel like you are right now?
Yeah, great question. So I feel like we are we we're probably very decentralized compared to many other protocols, right? So look at our node network. Right now, anybody can run a node. Anybody can
Right.
just spin up a node. If you don't have the minimum 10K Gora, which is worth a lot more today than maybe it was a year ago, you can delegate your voting power to. There's a huge selection of different validators you can delegate to. And
Mm-hmm.
what this does is it means that we don't choose who runs nodes like some other protocols where you decide, right? Look at Binance Smart Chain, look at Chainlink, Wormhole, Layer Zero. They all have this group of trusted validators who run the network.
Right.
And so for us, it's just completely wide open. Anybody can run it, and they just run the binary. And as long as 66% agree on the outcome, the data are interchain.
Right.
Obviously, for that, the attack vector then becomes if somebody can get 66% of the Gora token,
Right.
right? So we have started decentralizing the Gora token. I think 10% or 15% is circulating, 30, 40% is locked up for ecosystem rewards. So ideally, the next step is to try to get as much of the tokens either in circulation in other people's hands or
Mhm.
locked up in smart contracts. And that's, I think, we're pretty far along that process now. So I
Mhm.
think by July or September, we open source the project, we open source everything. The Gora is floating, and whatever Gora is not floating is controlled by the Gora DAO or smart contracts. I know we talked about governance in Gora DAO. We have a really cool version of the Gora DAO ready where they decide directly where Gora tokens go. So it's
Right.
the challenge with, of course, governance is, you're American, so you can see what happens sometimes when you leave it up to the voters. So we just want to make sure that we build something that can't be really manipulated or works in the interest of the people.
Well, so do you think the Gora DAO would be interested in a Los Angeles meetup? I just need 100,000 Gora, and we can all we can all meet up in LA and talk Gora for only
Okay,
100,000.
I've never been to LA. The
You've
closest I've
never
been to
been?
is Portland. Yeah. Portland was the
Well,
closest I've been. So,
wait. Where's the closest?
Portland, Oregon.
Oh, Portland. Yeah,
Yeah. So
that's
yeah,
close. It's kind of close.
I'd
It's
be
colder.
open. 100 grand. It's a bit.
It's a bit
It's a lot of
steep.
pizza.
That's a lot of pizza. All right, maybe I'll rethink my proposal. All right, so
Yeah. I
uh,
mean, unless if everybody's drinking 19 IPAs,
there are
it's like,
19 IPAs. Well, no, look, if I get 100,000 Gora, we'll be drinking Clase Azul. There'll be, I'll do it big. We'll have a good party for sure.
yeah, yeah.
There we go. So 19 IPAs. So you heard that. I drank
I
19
remember.
IPAs last night. I figured out Algorand. Uh,
Crazy.
there's been days, and I'm sure if people follow my Twitter where it wasn't quite 19, but I think I figure things out after maybe 5 or 6 IPAs for sure. And then start tweeting about it. And then the next morning think, oh, what is wrong with you? Would you change ever? Are you ever going to change? And then I start talking to myself in a shame spiral. Okay, moving on. So, okay, so do you, okay, so let's talk a little bit about this partnership with Janus,
Janus. Yeah.
Janet, Janet.
In Europe, it'd call Janus.
Janus. Janus. I
Yeah.
like that. I think it's better.
Yeah.
It's better than like Janice because it just sounds like like a lady. And then
Janus.
and then Janus is just like I don't know what that sounds like. I do know what
Yeah.
it sounds like, but let's move on. So Janus DeFi, which is what is it? So it's I know it has something to do with AI. It's like this way of creating demand for your own token. I don't understand. Tell me what's going on.
Yeah, it's a pretty complex stable coin that beats inflation essentially, right?
Okay.
And so it uses this two token model, and the found one of the founders, Dr. Stylianos. He's this super smart guy who has like PhD and masters in like computer science and AI and machine learning and all that. And he actually helped Gora. He was an advisor for Gora 2 years ago, helping us build our tokenomics. He's really deep in the blockchain space. Also lectures in universities on blockchain. And so he's also an economist on top of computer scientist and all that. And so he built this stable coin, but it's not like pegged to the US dollar. It's just meant to be inflation, right? So if you're holding it, it's sort of just, and how it does that mechanism is it uses this kind of a two token model. And it collects data and it uses Gora by collecting index data, financial index, consumer price index, that kind of information, and then uses that data to do something complicated to balance things out. And so I'm not going to do it justice if I try to explain it because
Yeah,
it's
no
very
worries.
complex. But to make it simpler, it's sort of this flat coin which doesn't lose value but actually retains value by beating inflation. And so it's a very cool mechanism that it uses to do that. And we're happy to be providing them with the kind of rich types of data that they need, like consumer price index and things like that, to help them keep that price flat.
Cool. And I actually because I had a point that I wanted to make earlier before I started talking. You threw me off with the IPAs. Is when it comes to the Gora token, and not to talk about price action, but the idea that the Gora token has increased in price so much over the last year is actually very good for decentralization, right? Because it becomes more and more expensive to attack the network. And is that true? Is that a true
Yeah.
statement? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think now if you try to accumulate 66% of supply, the price is going to go up to 50, 100, hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right.
It's
Impossible.
I don't even think there's that much Gora available on the market. Like people are just holding it in
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
staking it or things like that. And even if everybody decides to sell, the price just goes insanely high, right? And so,
Right.
yeah, I think that was a really cool way for sort of this get that first layer of decentralization, right? Even Bitcoin, Ethereum, they all start off centralized
Yeah.
until there's a certain level of growth that you
Right.
can claim to be. And I think we're really excited and happy to see how the community has adopted this and how we've grown to reach that level of decentralization.
And I guess going back to comparing to Chainlink and Gora, like this, there's got to be benefits to it being a more select group of validators, right? And like they feel like they can trust it, they can control those things, they know where those people are getting their data from. And then Agora network is more of like the wild, right? So there's like, you have to get the incentives right, you have to get the there's a lot of different things that you guys, and that's why they don't probably do that. But as Gora scales, um, is there, what's the danger here? Is it just somebody accumulating 66%, or, why isn't Chainlink doing that? Just because of how difficult it is at that scale? Or is it because you guys are brand new and you're starting from the ground up? You're able to grow this thing in a way, like for them to do that now could collapse the entire thing. But since you've been doing it this way since the beginning, is that what it is? Or
That's exactly it.
yeah,
Keep in mind, Chainlink launched, was it 2017,
yeah, it's been around.
2018?
Oh yeah,
It's crazy how much progress has been made since,
yeah,
right? And so they started off providing like one node network for the price of Ethereum, one node network for the price of Bitcoin, right?
right,
And the protocols that built using these price feeds are immutable. You can't change them. They're the smart contracts. If Chainlink decides, hey, we're going to revamp it, all these protocols that can be changed. Like one example is Liquidity. Liquidity has this sort of LSD stable coin, and that their dollar is backed by Ethereum, um, or sorry, Chainlink price feeds. And I had a conversation with Liquidity is a huge protocol on Ethereum. It's like, what happens if the protocols go down? They're just like, I don't know, like just the network collapses, right? So
yeah,
there's these like massive protocols built on top of these things that can't change, and so they have to maintain that legacy. And then now they're focused on this bigger TradFi, right? So there's no incentives there, but also they're focused on a different direction.
right,
Whereas that is where the vacuum of Oracle comes in. Like now you're like, okay, now there's this need, and we took a lot of our inspiration from Algorand's technology, right? So now we can learn from Chainlink and what they did good and bad. We
right.
can use Algorand's advanced technology to help us build our consensus mechanism. So there's just so much more technology and research available to us when we started, and B, there's they grew so big so fast that they're sort of focused on a different space now.
Right. And so, what about partnerships? There's a partnership. You guys have a partnership or a with the Algorand Foundation, right? Are you guys? How are you connected with the foundation? And what is
Algorand,
yeah,
yeah, they're one of our biggest investors, right? When we did our seed round, I think 30, around 25 or 30% of those funding came from Algorand. So yeah, so that was when they switched away from doing grants to doing investments, right? So we were
right,
I think one of the first that got investment under that new program, which I guess is smart because if now we grow, they make that helps them with their growth, right?
yeah,
So yeah, they're one of our big, and then also they're one of our biggest supporters in the sense of like we get so much business through Algorand. It's people like to say, okay, you guys are not doing anything. But behind the scenes, we see the enterprises they work with. They introduce us to these really big companies, sometimes top 100 companies. And the thing about these enterprises, they don't want to say, "Hey, I'm building on blockchain." They don't want to, announce a partnership, but just after one phone call, like many other protocols do. They build a prototype over the course of a year. They see, how things go, and then after that, they decide, okay, is this going to turn into a product or not? And so, because of that, I think people don't really see how big Algorand is. It's sort of a iceberg.
Okay. So wait, we should stick with this for a second because I feel like this makes people feel good, and I think people need to feel good right now. So what you're basically saying is that you are being in connection with these incredible enterprises because of your affiliation with the Algorand Foundation. And what you're also saying is that, yeah, so you have these conversations. There seems to be things in the works, and most protocols would be tweeting about it or, like leaking it in ways to make people excited. But really, the foundation has a lot going on behind the scenes. It's just they can't talk about it, is basically what you're telling me.
Exactly. And then you only hear about it after it becomes like mature and it's live, like the UNDP deal, for example.
Right.
But there's top 100 companies using Algorand.
And we don't know about it.
Yeah, we just don't, because they're not going to talk. They're not like, it's like not that space where decentralized applications need to generate hype and build a community. It's just not that kind of a world.
All right. Well, I can't wait to see how this all plays out. I mean, I have to say that I've been getting, for probably the last year, you talked about spring of 2023. I mean, since about then, really, like where I launched KubeCoin, there's been this whole year of just sort of, I've been just messing around almost, just like just following my unconscious and like just fucking around because I couldn't deal with the uncertainty of this entire space. But as I'm starting to wake up a year later now, we're in the spring of 2024 and things are looking a little better. I'm starting to be like, wait a second, I do believe in some of this stuff. And so I'm starting to get more grounded in this and have a little more faith in the future of Algorand, which is exciting for me to be. It makes it easier for me to come back and talk about this because I do need a little bit of excitement in order to motivate myself to do this because it's not making me rich. Well, let's look at well, I mean, some of it is helping me. At least some of it is. Okay, so let's check through. If you guys have any questions, put it in the chat, and we can ask Abdul. Let's go through the chat real quick. There's still some. Okay, so we got Ryan McDonald, more Solana dominance. Okay, so we're talking about GORA to the moon. Let's go. Abdul says, Tom, will a new roadmap be announced?
Yes, yeah, I think we need to get on that. We've been so deep in development. There's so much moving parts, but yeah, we have a huge new roadmap coming out within the next few weeks. So stay tuned, Cosmic Team.
All right. Yeah. So Cosmic Team. Is he a familiar face to you?
Should be.
Sorry. Yeah. And then yeah. And well, so we got Scotty Rolls saying he's bullish as fuck on GORA. Tom Weber says Algorand Foundation was an investor, but who was your favorite investor? I think Tom would like to know.
The guy who wrote that definitely is up there. He's been a huge supporter of us. Algorand's, of course, are great. So we love them all. Kyle Wang, Valhalla, they were one of our pre-seed investors, and they helped us a lot. Yeah, so we have some favorite investors, including Tom himself.
And so Scotty's like, there's some alpha. So what we've so if you're just tuning in, there is a big announcement coming in the next couple of weeks for GORA, right? You said that, and you promised me you would come on the show and announce it here, right? That's where you're going to drop that news.
Why not? Let's do it on X.
All right, let's do it. And then Scotty is talking about maybe the roadmap, and then you're going to have a nice roadmap coming out in the next few weeks as well. Okay, so we got Scotty with a question. Will there be staking stats like total rewards collected over time?
Yeah, that's cool. That's pretty cool. Maybe we can put that on GoraFi because all that information is accessible. Like all that stuff's happened on chain. So there could be some cool stuff and maybe even like, the most highest stats, or like the longest streak or something gets rewarded. Maybe some NFTs, some alpha there, some more
Yeah.
alpha there. But yeah, I think that might be something cool.
Sweet. And then we got the Cosmic Team. When will I see new listings? He wants to know when he's going to see some new listings.
Yeah, we're in conversation with probably like 20 exchanges, and so it's sort of a balance. You wanna go on exchanges that have actual volume, right?
Yeah.
That make the token accessible,
Yeah.
uh, but then also, like, some of the prices charged by some of these exchanges, six figures, mid six figures.
I know.
It's really extortionary, and so we want to balance, like, you can pay six figures to exchange, or you can buy back the token, right? Like,
Yeah.
we need to be really smart with our money. That's another thing we learned, from being later to the party. So, probably we'll see. We have one listing coming up in the next 2 weeks. That's a different topic. We've got, that one we'll announce pretty soon. So there is going to be a new exchange,
Oh,
in the
cool.
next couple of weeks. That's different from the other announcement that
Okay.
will come. So you'll hear about that, Cosmic, and then for the bigger exchanges, rather than pay these six-figure sums, we'll probably continue going with the medium tier exchanges until volume gets better. Ultimately, people who want to stake, people who want to, participate in the ecosystem. There's decentralized options like TinyMan,
Right.
and Uniswap, where
Right.
they can participate, and really exchanges is growing the audience. So,
And I have no experience with this negotiating with exchanges, but does the six figure exchanges, do they get cheaper as you can prove higher volume? So if you're like, they probably get
yeah,
cheaper, right? Yeah.
yeah, because every time you do a trade, they charge you money. Like, it's
Yeah.
such a small amount,
But it adds up.
but the more volume there is, the more money they make, right? The
Right.
less
So
big you are.
the
So,
more
so
they're
that's fair.
incentivized to list you on their exchange. Yeah.
Exactly.
So where can people get it right now? I'm sure they can get it on MEXC. Where can
See
people?
TinyMan and
Yeah,
Uniswap V3.
there it is. Those are the three
Yeah,
main places for you to get GORA token. So there you go.
exactly.
Yeah, and everybody knows. If you know Algorand, you know Tiny Man for sure. All
Yeah,
right. So Block Cycle says we are all in, and there was some salute emojis.
yeah.
And then Zach Miller says, will there be referral links added in the future?
That would be cool. That would be cool. Maybe to glorify. Uh,
Yeah.
be interesting to see how to track that on chain.
Mhm.
But that might be a cool idea.
Sweet. There you go.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he's open to it.
The biggest way people find is like word of mouth, right? So makes sense that there's some rewards for people who grow the community, and we've been working on sort of like marketing and partnerships. There's a token allocation for that. We've been thinking about how we can put those in the hands of like the biggest champions of Gora, like, because ultimately, as a decentralized application, you want your community to feel like, they can push the project forward.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things, like, it's not going to be XGov type, but something different, where you know there's this token specifically allocated to community ambassadors, community champions, and then they can, get rewarded in Gora tokens for being an ambassador, that kind of a program. So once we get that right, we'll announce it, and maybe that will be the referral thing.
Well, while we wait to see if there is any other questions here before we sign off, I'll give everybody, if you guys have any questions, you have a few more minutes to type them in the chat, and Abdul will definitely answer, as you can see. Let's just kind of, I mentioned early on in the show when I was screaming at my camera that there's not a lot of stuff that's been around, pre, Stacy Foundation. I was talking about the Sean Lee Foundation and stuff like that. But one thing that is true, and certainly when it comes to this show, I mean, I think that you probably were on this show 3 years ago. Like, I mean, has it been that long? I mean, you might have been on this show 3 years ago. Like, that's
Yeah,
amazing that
so
you've been doing this for
so
that long.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Before my 2.5-year-old son was born, I think.
Yes. No,
Holy
see,
shit.
this is what I'm talking about. Is that I feel like I remember you telling me that you were about to have a baby.
Yeah, exactly. And the
Wow.
kid's like almost 2.5 now.
Yeah.
So,
Now he's like, Daddy, are you watching the ReCoop? Just kidding. I'm just
yeah, exactly.
playing.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So, I mean, I guess why don't you? Because you've been in the ecosystem. You heard me kind of talking about governance. I'm a little like I want like when governance came, I was excited about it. When XGov came, I was excited about it. Now everyone's wanting to throw it out, and I don't know what to think. Honestly, I'm still formulating what I think. Governor's hat probably has the best advice in the chat from earlier, being like, well, the best way to change this is to get involved. And then in the Discord, we are actively working to make XGov a better thing. So I think that's the obvious answer. And he is so engaged. You know, a lot of people are complaining about certain proposals getting passed. And then Governor's hat also points out, well, you know, I was the only one to comment on it. So maybe your complaints would be better, better placed if they happened before these things got passed. But okay, so enough, petting Governor's hat on his hat. But I guess my question: what are your thoughts around governance and more specifically Algorand governance?
Yeah. So I mean, we've been working on GORA DAO for a year and a half now, right?
Yeah.
Like we have a GitHub, the product is ready. Anybody who wants to take a look at our governance solution is most welcome to request access to our GitHub. For that matter, anybody who wants access to our GitHub to look at our code is most welcome as well. We will eventually open source it, but you can verify it for yourself if you like. And so, governance is a hard thing. Like it's very hard. You find like 5 good protocols in the entire space that have 100% done it right. There's always trade-offs, I think, to it, and so the it's hard to comment specifically on the XGov situation, but I think in general governance is really hard, and I think a lot of projects much bigger than Algorand are still figuring it out. So
Yeah, that's
I
for
think
sure.
when we keep that in mind, things make more sense.
Yeah, and I guess that allows for kindness, and then it also allows for space to make things better rather than just knee jerk throwing everything out. When if you can realize, like, you can look at Polkadot, and they have they have really put a lot of resources and time into their on-chain governance, and people are still complaining over there about projects getting passed over there, and people gaming that. And then do you have, like you said, a few that are you're impressed by? Where do you see, what projects do you see with like impressive governance?
Yeah, I like Uniswap. They do a pretty good job.
Yeah,
Um, GMX is another good
yeah,
one.
yeah. That
Uh,
they, yeah, it's pretty robust.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, for sure. So not that many, not that
not yeah.
many.
It's hard to find, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so let's see if we got any more. We got any more questions here? Will there be referral links? We did that. Norby is here. Best validator. Go Radix. All right, let's go. Gora, let's go. All right, it's amazing he came back, Coop. So I think that's
yeah,
a joke about you still coming back to the show. And then Cosmic Team is back with, it's not really relevant though. There was a collaboration with Kicks Digital before. Can we hear a few sentences from him about Kicks Digital? Do you trust them?
yeah. Kicks Digital is sort of this football trading game, and we've learned from their community that there's been this other product that they had before that failed and people lost money in it. And so this is like a Web3 reiteration of it. Kix uses our Gora data feeds for their sports trading game. And so, I know like one of the founders behind it seems like a really good, genuine guy, but there's so much interesting things that we've been learning about their past owner of this football thing called Football Index. Google it. It's this crazy, interesting story that happened. So ultimately, I mean, we are a decentralized application. Whoever wants to use our data feeds to get sports, you can't like say no, right? Like
Yeah.
anybody who wants to use it. But I think definitely we will probably look at sort of who we promote or market on our platforms.
Right.
But ultimately, regardless of whether we promote somebody or not, I'm not sure if we can stop them from using our Oracle feeds.
Well, and I don't know that you want them to. I mean, the fact that you're providing them with good data doesn't reflect poorly on you if they're I think you said that wisely, is that obviously you're not going to gatekeep who can use your data feeds. So you might be empowering maybe bad actors with data, but the only thing you can really control is what you promote, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And really, one of the lessons we learned from that is, right, there's certain industries, specific, like especially gambling, where there's a lot of hurtful things that happen. Like people, there's reasons there's regulators that maintain it, and so really anything like gambling or gambling related will probably stay away from for sure.
Cool. So we got, hey, Abdul, can you mention the relation GORA AI ML DeFi?
Yeah, we talked about data feeds, but I
Yeah.
think one thing we didn't talk about is off-chain computation. Like, there's
Oh,
so much unused computing power in the world.
right.
If they put that towards running these AI or machine learning models, we had a partnership with Giza, which is a pretty cool AI platform. So I think what Fred wants to talk about is like off-chain computation, and how really we can power these really interesting use cases. Because right now, essentially what's going to happen is data is sort of the new gold or oil or whatever you want to call it, right? Because all these large language models eventually, within a few years, they'll all become just as good as each other because they're going to reach the limit of the publicly available data. And then
Yeah.
to differentiate, you're going to need private data, but private people might not want to give you that data. So how do
Right.
you train models on private data? That I think is going to be sort of the biggest thing we do in the next couple of years,
Right. So explain this a
providing
little.
the infrastructure to do that.
So explain this a little bit better. So, or not better, you explained it well, but explain it a little more, maybe simply. So, off chain, this off chain, computation. So, what is Gora? What is Gora's relationship to this, and how does Gora use this? And how does it provide this to what end? I guess.
Yeah, so we're working on these tools where node operators can run these algorithms for these people who want to run these machine learnings, right?
Hmm.
Uh, and then we're also working on these ways to have these data by like, hey, Cooper wants to allow his like driving record history to be used for some insurance company who wants to do some machine learning, but you don't want to
Hmm.
give it to them, or you don't want them to let them see it. You just want their data to run on it, and you get rewarded in tokens, and maybe
Right.
you finally get rich off this thing. So we're hoping to have the infrastructure ready where people can provide their data. Companies can provide their algorithms, but companies don't get the data, and you don't get to see their algorithm. And so I think that is going to be really the next big differentiator. So Goro, just that network of nodes, is going
Right.
to eventually be our strong suit. Right now, we have almost 100 node runners, so allowing them to continue to upgrade and perform these things, and the fact that we don't have these. We don't like we're like Uber in a way, right? We don't actually have the cars. People have the cars,
Yeah.
but we can say, hey, let's do this or let's do that with your hardware. So it's really cool, and that's really the really cool thing about this space is the decentralization aspect of it. So
And Freddie's making sure that we hit the topics, and I appreciate you,
yeah,
Freddie. Thank
yeah.
you
Can
so
you
much.
see this hat and this shirt? I wanted to talk about this, like, but I totally forgot about it.
So, are you going to be
Yeah,
at Decipher?
yeah, I will. It's
Yeah.
only a 3 hour flight from where I'm currently living,
Oh,
so
nice.
I can't miss it.
Yeah. So you're going to be at Decipher. You're going to have a. Are you going to be running a booth? Are you going to be giving a speech? Are you going to be just hanging out and eating tapas? What's going on?
All three, all three group.
Damn it!
I'm
I want to be
excited.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not coming this time, or
I'm not coming. I'm not coming. I
uh,
can't. I no.
yeah,
I feel like they might like secretly arrest me or something. The foundation might have some friends. I don't know. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
no,
for
no.
sure. No,
But so you're going to
there's
be
certain
there.
people who like need to be at every you know decipher, like just
Yeah,
penciled in, no matter
I
what.
know they should.
I
I
think they
know.
want
I think that we're going to have some. You're going to have some good ones there, though. I believe Michael Jordan will be there.
the
Um,
Michael or the our Michael Jordan, eh?
Yeah, no, unfortunately or fortunately, our Michael
Yeah,
Jordan. That'd be pretty awesome though. We got to get like yeah, Jordan, like we got to get the sneakers like supply chain or something. We got to get somehow
yeah,
let's have Jordan because Jordan would actually provide sneakers. So instead of
yeah,
little Dirk, they should have, wouldn't that be
yeah.
fun?
Here's a new meme coin idea. Let's get Michael Jordan to come up with Jordan NFTs on Algorand. I would
Yeah.
totally buy those
Yeah, we
Jordans.
should. And they should be it should just
Yeah,
be NFTs of Michael Jordan, but our Michael Jordan doing these amazing dunks. So it'd be like classic Jordan dunks, but it'll be Michael Jordan.
yeah, exactly. We can use my son's basketball hoop. My two
Yeah.
hoops.
Right. Oh, so bring if you're gonna be if you both be in Decipher, you should bring your son's basketball hoop with you and do a little photo shoot with Michael Jordan. Does this sound
Yeah,
good,
yeah,
guys?
and then do some Jordan. I'll definitely bring this up.
Like he can do the tongue thing. You know what I mean? It'll be great. All right.
It'd be amazing. Yeah.
Well, hey, Abdul, we did it. I think this was fun, and thank you, Freddie, for chiming in at the end there to make sure that we got the off-chain data and Decipher stuff in here. Is there anything else that you want to let everybody know, or anything? Obviously, everybody follow Gora on Twitter or X, and join their Discord, or where's the best place for people to communicate with Gora?
Telegram's great. Telegram's great.
Okay,
Discord's
Telegram.
great too.
Okay.
Every time we run a campaign, we see a lot of new faces in there. But Telegram seems to be the place where the most OGs are.
Yeah. Well, hey, Fisherman just arrived, so I mean, we got to stop and say hello to Fisherman. Do you have any questions for Gora?
Another OG.
He's another OG for sure.
Yeah. Is
He's
he going
been
to be
around.
at Decipher? I'm sure NFD will be represented there.
I bet. You're going to be at Decipher. You have 30 seconds to respond, Fisherman. Oh, okay. Yeah. Freddie says hi to Fisherman. What's the biggest fish you've caught? That's if I ever have Fisherman. No. But he loves Abdul. No. Love Abdul. Okay. Yes, he does.
No love Abdul or
okay.
No. Love Abdul. Punctuation's important.
No, he says he's going to be at Decipher. It's been a great show so far. Captain Striker's warning me not to ruin the rest of the show. He's like, look, you've been doing great. Stop it. Cosmic Team loves Abdul too. Hey, the ReCoop loves Abdul. Thank you so much. He loves Abdul. Now he loves Abdul with capital letters. So this is a good thing.
We love you all.
There's a good thing in the Algorand community, and there's good guys and gals that have been around for a long time, and and they're still here. And by the way, you've been here for however long, and you've got the hat, you got the shirt, you're going to Decipher. Yeah. Fisherman is out there always. He's giving his opinion on how we talked about governance a lot, or I talked about governance a lot. He has a lot of thoughts about it. He stays engaged, built one of the coolest platforms on Algorand and NFTs. There's a lot of people. You got Stitch. We've talked about the NFT community. That guy's been around since the beginning, and he's got a new thing dropping in July. So there's a lot. I've been around for a long time. There's just a lot. Michael Jordan, speaking to him, has been around for a long time. So this Algorand community is full of a lot of great people. It's great to see this kind of expansion effort, so more people will use it. And then, these projects don't have to be in these little silos. They can be bigger like you are right now. So I'm excited to see your guys' growth, and you are absolutely welcome to come on the show in a couple of weeks if you do want to announce here. If you don't worry about it. And then let's do
a Twitter space. Let's do a Twitter space together.
That will do. Sure. We'll bring everybody together. And then, and then you're always welcome. And I'm excited to, thanks for coming on.
Awesome. Thanks. And we love you all too. So awesome. See you guys.
All right. Thank you, Abdul.
Bye-bye.
A fisherman says Gora to $10. All right. See you guys later. See you guys tomorrow.